evening, everybody. Is this on?
Yeah, you got to get right up into it.
Didn't sound like me. Okay, hello. Welcome to our meeting. We're very grateful to have you here today. Thank you for coming. And it'll be very interesting. Our restrooms are down the hall on the right. Men's is the first hallway, women's is just beyond on the right. Please enjoy our meeting tonight. Turn it over to you.
Steve,
yeah, let me make sure the stream is up and running here. Let's see, inbox. Apple cider, come on. Alrighty, so tonight we're going to be having special guest. Oops, let me get back to that window. Special guests from Moondog Labs. I'll have to have you describe why Moondog Labs. Are they dogs that howl at the moon and they're Labradors? Something like that. And I'm trying to make sure my YouTube stream says it's up. Okay. I'm on the CIDER channel. I don't see it in my CIDER list. There we are live. Okay. And make sure the audio is coming through. I always tend to forget the audio input. Except the audio, I want it to come through my headphone and not the iPad. Okay, so do we have any guests here tonight? Looks like we have a guest. There's a little brown box here with some information about us. It's probably behind me. Okay. Wanted to mention as we're coming into shopping season that on the CIDER website we have a shopping discount link. And that takes you to the discounts we get from different vendors. Probably the biggest one is the Amazon link. We actually have two shopping discounts through Amazon. Pardon? Correct. That's the wrong word. Referrals. Thank you. So when you purchase something at Amazon, it doesn't cost you any extra, but Apple Cider gets a kickback. A referral. And that's one of our major sources of income. There's actually two of them. So if you go to the link that we have on our page, the Amazon Smile link, that gives you both of the referrals that we have. And I'll turn that off because we know that's working. The regular Amazon referral link, and then there's a secondary link for smile.amazon.com because we are a registered charity. So you can mark us as your Amazon charity, and we actually get two referrals from you. We also have our Cafe Press store. If you want to get hats or T-shirts or mugs with the CIDER logo on it. Where is it? Did I bring? I think we're out of. I think we sold the last T-shirt at the picnic, so we might have to order some more. If anyone's interested in a bulk order, we can do that. And then the Mac Users Group has some offers. Lynda.com has a really nice free pass if you're interested in learning some stuff. And then Take Control from Joe Kissel, formerly from Adam and Tanya Angst, who will be at our December meeting, right? I think they're December, because genealogy is next month. Genealogy will be our November meeting, and then Adam Angst from Tidbits will be our December meeting. So that's the shopping link as we move into these shopping seasons. Okay, so I think from local, it's always nice to have a local company here represented. We have Sean and Scott, from Moondog are going to be talking about their products. And I am going to switch over to their presentation. We'll turn off Safari and turn off the air server.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Steve, and thank you all so much for being here again. My name is Sean Conley, and this is Scott Cahall. He's our chief lens designer and the founder of the company, and I'm just here kind of to help tell the story a little bit. So Moondog Labs, we are a lens design and accessories company for iPhones, smartphones, for people who want to take their filmmaking and photography really to the next level, specifically with iPhones, but we also cater off to some other products, which we'll also talk about a little bit later on in this presentation. But raise of hands, how many people have an iPhone? I imagine it's a Apple users group. Great. All right, keep your hands raised if you use that phone for photos. Keep your hands raised if you use that for video. And how about for filmmaking? See, you put it down, but see, I know. Isn't that always kind of funny? So what's the difference between video and filmmaking? It's really interesting to see because you see a lot of people shooting video.
Depends on who's paying you.
That depends, exactly. Filmmaking on who's paying you. But really what we're seeing more like filmmaking is more telling a story. And you can do that in so many really unique and interesting ways with an iPhone. But for a long time, up until 2013 when Moondog Labs was founded by Scott, there really wasn't a way to tell a story in a specific cinematic way. So what I'd like to do is start off with this company Kickstarter video. It's just a couple minutes long, but it really kind of describes a little bit more of what our signature flagship products are and kind of how they really changed the game when it comes to making films with iPhones specifically. So let's watch this real quick.
Hey Kickstarters, I'm Scott Cahall and I'm a lens designer, and I'm really excited to tell you about our project, an anamorphic adapter for the iPhone. Anamorphic lenses expand your camera's horizontal field of view. They let you capture expansive panoramic images and let you film in gorgeous widescreen. They also introduce organic flares and distortion that add character and depth. Think of landmark films like Indiana Jones, early James Bond films, Pulp Fiction, Star Trek, and Inception. Unfortunately, anamorphic lenses are incredibly expensive and out of reach for most filmmakers. Many choose to shoot conventionally and crop the top and bottom of the image to achieve a wide aspect ratio. They're forced to waste pixels, and the resulting picture lacks the distinctive feel of traditional widescreen cinema. Our anamorphic adapter allows you to capture a 33% wider horizontal field of view. We've designed something that's never been done before, an affordable anamorphic adapter made specifically for the iPhone. For the first time ever, lower budget filmmakers can achieve a cinematic feel that just isn't possible with digital techniques alone. Take a look at some of the shots we've captured with our first prototype. We believe that this anamorphic lens will open up a whole new world of possibilities for iPhone filmmakers and photographers. We're very excited to see what it can do in the hands of creative storytellers like you. We've built several prototypes, and now we need your support to help.
So from here we go into more of the Kickstarter details, so we can skip over some of that. But since that video in 2013, and since the company launched, our anamorphic lens has been used really across the world. From directors from Thailand to England to New Zealand to here in the US, they've been able to use our lenses to do some really cool stuff. Will you refresh that maybe? Because it clicked through. I don't know, is there a, there we go. Ah, there we go. Coming back. All right, there we go. So as you can see here in this little slide here, we have a few photos from. Coming back, Air Server.
I lost the window.
The windows are great when they work.
Yeah.
So everything from Star Wars fan fiction, which is what you kind of see here, to this is a film called High Flying Bird. We'll see some clips from that later. That's on Netflix right now. It was released in 2019. That was shot on an iPhone with our lenses. This film right here, Tangerine, in 2015, correct? 2015, it won Sundance. It was shot 100% with an iPhone, and really it was an exciting time. Scott can tell you a really great story about how throughout the whole movie it played, people loved it, they erupted in applause, and at the very end of the credits it said shot on iPhone, made with a Moondog Lab lens, and people audibly gasped like, wow, we had no idea this was shot with an iPhone. So this lens has really done a lot, and what Scott has done for this industry has been really, really exciting. And it's all right here in Rochester, right in our backyard. So how did we do it? Is the AirPlay still not quite doing it? Refreshing.
Yeah, the AirPlay's not on.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not sure what happened. The window disappeared.
Well, so we have a few different options of our
Can you
lenses here.
un-
Can you need me to reset it?
Disconnect and reconnect?
Oh, I can do that. That is not a problem. CIDER Pro.
There we are.
How we doing? We're back?
Yep.
We're live. All right, sweet. Exciting. So as you saw in the video, we have our first lens. This is the clamp-on style anamorphic lens. It's right here. I'm going to pass around some for everybody to check out. Everybody's good here? Trustworthy Apple people. So this is our, like I said, our clamp-on anamorphic style lens. This one's for an iPhone 8. Now this one is phone specific, so we made a different type of lens for each different iPhone because iPhones change. They get like maybe an eighth of an inch bigger here, 16th of an inch smaller there. So we designed different ones for each iPhone. So this was our initial design. And let me open up an app for you really quick. So as you pass it around, you can kind of see exactly what it looks like as you're playing with it here. You kind of see what it looks like. So I'll let this make its way around the room here. Hold on tight. Good. There you go. If you want to pass that around and kind of shoot around with it. So that was our initial design, this clamp-on style lens. Since then, we've released two more designs. One's that's a 12.5 millimeter threaded lens, and another one that's a 37 millimeter threaded lens. All of these different type of lenses produce the same image quality, but we've designed different ways for them to attach the phone. So that's really the key point here, is that we have all these different style of anamorphic lenses that really are great for filmmaking, for wide-angle photography. It's really cool stuff. The one thing that our company is really kind of based around is accessibility and adaptability. So we want you to be able to use these products across multiple different devices and being able to basically make anamorphic filmmaking and photography that much easier for everyone. Because as Scott mentioned in that video, anamorphics in general, say you wanted to shoot 10 years ago with an anamorphic lens, is going to cost you a $20,000 camera and a $10,000 lens at least. And now you can actually do it with an iPhone. It's just really exciting to see. So first one here that you guys are seeing, like I said, it's iPhone model specific. It works without a case or screen protector. You just kind of clamp it on. Really good for on-the-go filmmaking, full production filmmaking. It's mobile and gimbal friendly, so we'll talk a little bit about gimbals and such in just a little bit. And it's available for these style iPhones. So I originally designed this presentation, by the way, for some retail suppliers of ours. So, and I've tweaked it a little bit for this group. So if I'm flying through some stuff real quick, don't worry about it. Slow me down if you need me to, but I'll open up for questions later. So some of this might be a little too in-depth, and so I'm trying not to go too much, but just kind of give you a basic overview. So that lens that you saw right there, I mentioned this film earlier, High Flying Bird. You can watch the whole thing on Netflix right now. It was released in February 2019. It's done by the director Steven Soderbergh. I don't know if anybody's heard of him, but he's also done Magic Mike. He's done Ocean's 11. Really amazing director, and he shot a film 95% entirely with our lens right here. And here's a quick trailer. Tell me if you can tell it was shot on an iPhone.
You want to get back on the court. And I want to get you there. But we are in a lockout.
There are no actual games to watch.
You think these fools, these rich white dudes, gonna let these sexiest sport fall by the wayside?
This team's my family. I need us to be one big family again.
Football is fun, but it don't sell sneakers. To move merch and inspire rap lyrics, they need your services.
The NBA won control of a game that we played better. They invented a game on top of a game.
I can see a whole infrastructure that put the control back in the hands of those behind the ball.
What you gonna do?
But I'm about to pull up a chair.
My God ain't right.
We're at the height of the information era. We need a story.
What are you doing, man? This is my career.
You have a chance, sir, to do what has never been done before.
Come on, man.
Give him the rock.
I don't want to do that.
This is the matchup everyone's been dying to see.
24 million people saw the video. I'm not thinking of breaking up our happy marriage.
What you saw yesterday was just the beginning
Oh man, this is getting crazy.
of what could be a whole new industry.
You need all that?
You know the league would have blackballed me.
You scared?
We don't need the league. We are disruptors. It's your game now.
You were born for way more than this. Don't let them fool you.
So yeah, all shot on an iPhone with lenses that were designed right in Fairport by that man right there. It's really cool. This is a really awesome film if you get a chance to watch it. And the fun part about it is it's kind of meta in a way because the whole movie is about disrupting the NBA. I don't know if you caught that from the trailer, but the whole idea of shooting it with an iPhone was really kind of disrupting to the whole idea of Hollywood and cinema and filmmaking. So it's really kind of a cool movie in the way he kind of tied the idea and the theme of the movie in with the way that he actually made the movie, which is pretty cool. Let's move on here. So that's with our clamp-on lens. I don't know if the AirPlay went off again. Do we need to reset it here, Steve?
It's full. When I go into full screen mode, it seems to lose.
It doesn't like it.
connection.
Yeah, it's fine. If it's half the screen, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. So from there, I just want to talk to you about a couple other of our styles of lenses. So the next style that we had was a 12.5 millimeter. So this one uses just a basic iPhone case. So here's an iPhone 10. And I'll just talk really loud. Oh, for the people watching at home, I think we have like 1,000 people watching at home, probably. Okay.
Something like that.
So what this does is you have a case, and we have a 12.5 millimeter thread, and that just threads right in there. And if you guys kind of saw what was going on with that phone, you'll see the same thing here. But this way. Oh, yeah, go ahead and click right in there. If you need to go up there and do what you need to do, Steve. Steve Wozniak's got me taken care of back there. Yes, so it's a special case with a lens mount that we design, and you can find these all on our website. But it's nice because the case is still really nice and thin, fits in your pocket. But this is really good for like the kind of on-the-go filmmaker or someone who wants that wide-angle lens that just wants to keep the lens on the phone at all times. So let me go in here and turn this on again. But here you can kind of get the feel for it. And the nice part about this one too is that it screws into the case, but then you can align it just by twisting at the top, so you guys can play with that a little bit as well. The app that you're looking at is called Filmic Pro, and so I will talk a little bit about that in a moment as well. There's some good partners of ours that we've worked with, and there's really great organization and awesome app. They were actually featured in the latest Apple keynote. So we'll talk more about that in a little bit. So this is a 12.5 millimeter lens. As I say, it requires a specific case and mount. It's best with like the iPhone 10, XS, XS Max. I know what you're thinking. What about the 11? We'll talk about that later as well. On-the-go filmmaking, and it's available for these kind of model iPhones. We work with a company called Rhino Shield Cases. That's that case that you're seeing there. They do some really great work as well. Our next lens and the final of our three styles is this 37 millimeter thread. Now this one's really exciting because it's our most adaptable lens. It attaches to a whole bunch of a variety of different kind of cases and rigs, and it's like you'll see a lot of different rigs out there that aren't made by us. They're made by third parties, but the 37 millimeter thread is a little bit more adaptable and a little bit more again, adaptability and accessibility. So it's a little bit more adaptable and accessible. So we'll talk a little bit about some of these accessories right now. For example, the helium core. This is not a phone case. I don't think you want to hold this around your pocket and try to pick it up. It's like an iPhone Pro Max times 10. But what it is I don't know how many of you guys do a lot of other filmmaking, but you'll see DSLRs and other big cameras have cages around them. So you'll have a cage because you may want to attach a microphone or a light or something. So when you're holding this big cage, it's kind of got the camera in the middle and everything around it. This is the iPhone version of that. And the way it works is, let me just set down the mic for a moment. This is more of if you would more have this on a tripod, or again, you would maybe have it attached to like a bigger gimbal. But this is kind of an idea of like that's, you could also attach a light to that. And you could attach a whole bunch of other things. So this is kind of just showing you how robust you can make filmmaking on an iPhone.
Just for comparison, what would a professional film camera cost that you normally would hook all this stuff to?
You're probably talking by the time you get the rig, by the time you get the lens, by the time you get the camera, you're talking upwards of $100,000.
And so you can use your $1,000 iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly a $1,000 iPhone is cheap.
Yeah, right. Oh, did that just come out? Yeah, yeah, it kind of slides onto there, and you'll see there's a little thread. If not, you can take it off too. Yeah, twist that. There you go. So yeah, so there's a bunch of different options. And again, adaptability. So that 12.5 millimeter thread that's going around, we have different plates that you can take, and you can put that on there. So now you can attach your 12.5 millimeter thread to that helium core as well. Similarly, we have something called a Beast Grip. This is another company we work with. Similar kind of cage type of system, but this one has a separate mount that we make that actually positions the camera, positions the lens more directly in front of the camera and really kind of gives you the most precise optics. Talk to an optics engineer and he'll tell you how important this all is, making sure that every position of where exactly that camera is in relationship to the lens makes a big difference. And that's what really kind of sets our products apart from some other things you might see on the market, is that we really go after the precision optics and different ways to do that. So this Beast Grip is similar. I will send this around as well. This is the way it looks like when it's just set up on the phone. You can attach filters to it, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. And then there's kind of the lens. So I'll kind of show you how it sets in there, but the lens is going around, so I won't have a lens in there. Hold on. That's another little cage operation. So putting an iPhone 7 in there. And then you can kind of see it's got a little grip on the side, and then you would have the lens in here. And again, it's kind of nice, just it gives you a little more stability when you're shooting, so just something to get a little more robust. So again, everyone from hobbyist to Hollywood kind of has options now to be able to shoot on an iPhone. And lastly, you can do something just as simple as a clip. And I'm trying to think if I even brought one with me today. I believe I did. I feel like a magician digging into my magic bag of goodies. Yeah, okay, here we go. So you can also just put that 37 millimeter lens just on a clip. This would clip right onto your phone. It's not one of the ones we always highly suggest because it's a little bit flimsy at times, but it's an option. And again, we're always about the options and about different adaptabilities. So we talked about a little bit about the phones, the lenses, how we attach them to different rigs. Filters are kind of the next step in filmmaking. So even if you guys are just taking pictures with your iPhones, filters really make a big difference, because what's going to happen is the sensors on the phones are pretty sensitive, and they're small on an iPhone. They're around like 1/4 to 1/3 of an inch as a small filter. So when light is hitting it, it's going to try to adjust for the brightnesses and the darkness all in the same sensor. And with an iPhone, with a small iPhone, as opposed to a DSLR or a more expensive camera, that's really kind of what you're getting with these bigger, more expensive cameras, is you're getting a better sensor. That's the only limitation to an iPhone, but these sensors are getting better and better. And with a little bit of accessories like an adapter or a filter adapter, you can get some differences. So for example, we have ND4, ND8, ND16. That stands for neutral density. What that is, basically, just think of it as sunglasses for your camera lens. So every camera, people who are professional photographers use filters like these, and now they're available for iPhones. So you can take any of these filters, put them on your phone. They're really good for filmmaking, particularly because they allow your sensor to not get as choppy of a footage. You're able to capture just more information because your shutter speed doesn't have to be as fast. So it's not taking as many quick little pictures. It's just allowing more light into the phone. So as you can see here, for example, you have like, oh, go ahead, Scott. Yes. Right, because if a lot of bright light is coming into your phone, what's happening is it's going to try to adjust for that by increasing the shutter speed. So instead of that shutter being open for half a second, it might be open for like 1/8 of a second. So the more light you can get in there, the more you can adjust. So for example, here's just a couple pictures. Here's without. You can kind of see this is at it's not this isn't Watkins Glen. It's another one in upstate New York. But you can kind of see here where it's kind of dark and a little bit too bright there. With an ND filter, we're able to actually get a little bit more detail in some of this. I know it's a little bit small and grainy, but you can get some different detail there. Circular polarizer is another kind of filter lens, and we'll have some more information about this up on our website. But that's really good for if you're shooting through glass or you're shooting a water, any reflective surfaces. You're able to really kind of cut out a lot of that glare. So it's super helpful as well. So I have a few of those with me, and I can show you some more later, or some more information on the website. For example, this shot here, just took this past weekend. This is out in the Adirondacks. I used an ND2 on this one. And what that was able to do is I was able to, without that, I probably would have had a little bit too much blowout here. Things would have been a little bit too dark in some of the darker shadowy areas there. But with a filter and with an iPhone, you can really it's amazing what you can capture. And it's nice when you're hiking or walking around, you don't have to lug a big camera. So that's how I was able to get that shot. Of course, with the filters, we have different mounts for those as well. So these mounts, they look just like this, and they just go right over the top of your lens. And then the filter, let's see if I find it. Here we go. So it's just basic, looks just like this. Filter just screws right in over the top of it. And boom. And now you attach this right to the lens. The other option, which is really nice, and we'll talk about that. That one's featured right here. Is this 12.5 millimeter thread. This 12.5 millimeter thread, some of you might have this phone lying around right now. Remember we talked about this one with the case? This filter mount attaches directly to, whoop-a-doop. So this one attaches right to the phone. So say you didn't want that anamorphic look, that anamorphic widescreen you've been talking about. You can also just attach it directly to your phone. So now you can use filters directly with your native iPhone, which is pretty exciting too. So again, these filters, it's all about just kind of upping your game. If you're like, okay, I'm getting some decent pictures with my phone, what can I do to improve that quality? This is some of the stuff you can do. Gimbals and counterweights. How many have ever used a mobile gimbal before? Okay, Scott, have you used one? So first, I'll show you guys what a mobile gimbal looks like, and I'll actually use the mic stand this time. So mobile gimbals have really kind of become ubiquitous with mobile filmmaking. High Flying Bird, that trailer we saw a little bit ago, there's some really great shots of Steven Soderbergh, the director, shooting with a mobile gimbal. He's in a wheelchair, they're pulling the wheelchair as a dolly, and then he's using the mobile gimbal to shoot. And this is what a mobile gimbal looks like. Just like this. So it's basically just like a little robot arm device that helps you get smooth shots. So I'm going to do a little bit
You may have seen some, behind the scenes on films of a steady cam where a guy holding this or being strapped into this giant harness, that replaces it.
This is all about small, mobile, and accessible. So let me give you a quick example of how it works. So the phone would attach to a gimbal, and the easiest way to get a gimbal to work properly to have longer battery life is to balance it before you turn it on. So if I do this now, it's a little off balance. So I just have to pull this arm out a little bit. And now it's pretty balanced. So I'm going to lock it down, and I'm going to turn it on. And you'll see exactly when the arm kicks in. Whoop. Now, when I go ahead and move around, it's going to hold steady. So now it's not getting my shaky phone hand. It's nice and smooth. So when I'm shooting, this is what filmmakers will call it a dolly shot, where the camera just goes by. You'll see some of these in film. The camera just goes by the shot. Wes Anderson uses it a lot. Zoom in and zoom out. It's all now done with a little robotic arm like this, right? So that's great. But what happens when we add a lens to that? What happens when we add a lens to it is it throws the entire gimbal off balance. So now it's off balance. I can try pulling the arm out a little bit more, but I'm still going to be off balance. So this is where some other products that we developed come into play. They're called counterweights. So we developed a couple of different counterweights for some of the top gimbals on the market. Zion is a big one. DJI, yes, that's the same DJI that designs drones. They do a lot with gimbals too, because it's kind of the same gimbal kind of technology that they use in their drones. Then we designed this universal counterweight, which is right here. We're going to talk about this movie coming up in just a second. But this counterweight comes in like a couple different weights, so I can take off. That's 25 grams. Here's 50 grams. I'm going to attach the 25 back onto this, actually. And then I can attach this to the arm. And basically what it's doing is it's counterbalancing the extra weight that's on there from the lens. So it's on here. And then I'll pass this one around. You guys can get a feel for what it feels like to be
question in the back?
Yes, go ahead. So yeah, the universal version, the universal version, which I'll go back a little bit here, does come with different weights. So the first two we developed, these are specific to this kind of gimbal. And what's really nice about that, we actually have a lot of filmmakers who really like that. We're like, you sure you don't want the universal one? They're like, no, I'm good, because I'm going to use this Zion Smooth Q, that's the model. And that one's just like a little brass counterweight that would clamp onto the arm. And then the magnets just hold it on. So those were designed specifically for certain models of gimbal. But then we thought, well, you know, people might want a universal option, and that's also very popular. But people still kind of like, if they love this gimbal and they're not changing from it, they'll buy one specifically for that kind. So yeah, so there's different weight options. So that's what's nice about the universal one, is that you could use it on these too, and say a new one comes out, knock on wood, it would work on that too. But you know, it's all based on the design of. That's kind of the fun part, the exciting part about mobile filmmaking. The fun and exciting part about mobile filmmaking is that there's always something new coming around the corner. So, you know, we try to make things as universal as possible to work with that next tool that's going to come out. Again, trying to go after that adaptability and more the accessibility.
So the universal one is universal because you can attach it to different size arms on gimbals, but you can also adjust the weight.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So next. Now this film is actually really exciting, and the reason I want to show it now is they used not only our lens and a gimbal, but they also used some counterweights of ours to film this as well. You'll see some of those motion shots in this trailer. But Blue Moon was filmed in 3 days in New Zealand at a convenience store. The guy who wrote the film is a police officer, and filmmaking was his hobby. And through some connections he made, he was able to film this film with some really high-end actors. One of them is Jed Brophy. He's in Lord of the Rings. And this film is right now, we've been in touch with these guys for about 1.5 years now, but the film has just over the past couple months started making its way around film festival circuits, a lot in Europe, all over the world. And it's just really cool to see kind of what they did and how it's going. So check out this trailer here.
Hello, darling.
Oh, God, Horace. What a day. So, how's it going over there? Are you still at work? You should get some sleep. You know what you're like if you don't sleep.
It's busy. It's very, very busy.
You're lying to Mum. Keeping secrets, sneaking around.
Sorry about that. Urgent housekeeping, or else the boss will have a go. Oh. Where's my $500,000? You never introduced yourself. I'm Darren. What's your name?
Dave Jones.
Nice to meet you, Dave Jones. Now, what's your real name? I'm gonna take the cash. All the cash, and I'm out of here. All you gotta do is forget that I was ever here. You blow the whistle. And your kids get it. I've got people that can get to them. Turn around and face the wall.
I've got too much to lose. You do not have to do this.
Just
I swear
turn
I
around.
You don't have to do this.
I'm not gonna shoot you. 23 minutes, longest 3 minutes of our lives.
Oh, bashed my head on a shelf out the back.
Quiet night?
Well, so far.
So yeah, all shot 3 nights on an iPhone with a gimbal. It's just really cool to see what people are doing with our lenses and with iPhones and with mobile filmmaking in general. So getting to the final bits here. Oh yeah, go ahead. You have a question?
So we just lost it again.
Lost it again. No, AirPlay.
Switching between video and still.
In that, yeah, I get that. So we'll reconnect here. Cool. Almost there. Come on. Oh, I gotta hit play here. Cool. So production. We talked a lot about our lenses. What you guys have been looking at, that app that's been playing on all the phones that have been passing around, something called Filmic Pro. It's pretty much become the industry standard for mobile filmmaking. It's I believe it's like $3 or $5 in the App Store. You can buy some additional things. There's always in-app purchases, right? But what Filmic Pro does is, oh no, is it going yet? Let's see here. No, died again. AirPlay is great when it works. Should try reconnecting it here. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Okay, hold on. Play. Can we try reconnecting it?
That's the streaming app.
That's the streaming app? Let's see. Oh, the streaming to here?
Streaming to YouTube.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, okay. Let's switch over to the...
Hide that. Get back to the
here server.
Not seeing anything.
Cool. So like I say, the app that you're seeing is Filmic Pro. This has really become, just like I say, the industry standard. If you watch the last Apple keynote where they talked about the iPhone 11, the 11 Pro, where it's going to have the 3 cameras, there were 2 guys on stage talking about the new cameras. One guy, his name was Sean Baker. The other guy's name was Scott from Filmic Pro. I forget his name. Anyways, he's the founder of Filmic Pro. He's good friends of ours, believe it or not, but because we know. He's CTO, sorry. So these 2 guys, Sean Baker is the guy who did the film called Tangerine, and Tangerine was the one that won Sundance in 2015, shot with our lenses. People were like, oh my gosh, this is incredible, because they didn't realize it was shot with an iPhone. So those 2 guys are on stage at the Apple keynote talking about this app. And it's really exciting to see.
Try again.
Try again. It should be, oh, is it not connected? Okay. No, I'm not seeing it at all anymore. I'm connected to the Wi-Fi. That's Wi-Fi.
CIDER Pro, no password.
Yeah, I'm connected to CIDER Pro, but now I'm not seeing the AirPlay anymore. Come on, technology. Anyways, I can just continue talking. Yeah, I'm connected to. Let's see. Yeah, I'm connected to the Apple CIDER group. Let's see. I can try disconnecting this one more time. Boop boop. Reset the Wi-Fi. Reset the AirPlay. And we'll take it from there. CIDER.net. Connecting? No. Connected to CIDER.net, and I'm just not, it's not giving me the AirPlay. Little AirPlay back. Okay, I'll continue. Oh, thanks. Okay, cool. So, any questions so far? I know I'm spitting out a lot of information. And just fun toys. That's what's excited about, right? That's what we love about it. I mean, there's toys and there's tools, and that's what's it's great to see what filmmakers are doing with toys. Yeah, what's up? That is a great question, because that was literally going to be my next slide. So, you guys all seen GoPro before? This is a GoPro Hero 7. We just released, this is last month, an option, that 37mm lens that was going around, that one that I said was a little bit more accessible and able to try a bunch of different, it fits on a bunch of different products. We designed a lens mount that fits on a GoPro. So yes, we do have that. Again, our big thing is going after that. Oh, perfect. Yay! All right, we're good. I can show you what it looks like. And then I can pass it around a little bit too, if I don't knock over the Logicam. All right, thanks, Steve. Okay, so yes, a little bit beyond smartphones, because we all love our smartphones, they're really great. But again, if we're looking for more adaptability, we want people to be able to use our lenses with some other gear that they might have and use. And the GoPro Hero 7 is great. So you've seen one of those, GoPro Hero 7. This is a basic little mount. So what happens is, I can show you guys on here easier than I can hold it up and be small. So the little, this mount on the front here, it's basically this lens cap, twists and comes off. This pops and goes on. And then from there, you're able to thread in our lens. And then now you have an anamorphic GoPro. So yes, so that's an option as well. Our big thing that we're looking to do right now is kind of redefine what mobile filmmaking is. For a while, the term mobile filmmaking always meant using your mobile phone. Well, there's a lot of other things that are mobile, like GoPros, or like this camera by Sony. It's called a Sony RX0. They just released another version called Sony RX02. And what this they don't like being compared to GoPro, but it's about the same size as a GoPro. It's kind of an action cam type of camera. We designed a cage for it. Scott and the brilliant engineers over at Moondog Labs designed a cage system for it, similar to that helium core you saw. So this fits around the RX0, and now you can attach our lens directly to this RX0. So we're always looking for more solutions that people can use. If a camera is really becoming big in a marketplace and it's looking like more people are using it for cinematic filmmaking, we're going to try to design something for it that really makes it take it to the next level. So post-production. With any production, there's always a little bit of post-production. I won't go too much in depth to this, but what happens is when you do take those pictures with that anamorphic view and everything's kind of stretched out, it's taking that stretched out image and it's putting it down into a small sensor. So that Filmic Pro app that we're using, you have the option to de-squeeze it in the app, and then other apps might not de-squeeze it for you. So there's some options and ways to do that in post-production. So we have some tutorials on our website, so if you guys are interested in checking it out, Moondog Labs on YouTube, that's where we have some more information about that as well as more information about all the products that you're seeing here tonight. So again, there's all these different kind of movies that have been made. You saw a little bit of High Flying Bird and Blue Moon, Tangerine we talked about. Bentley has done some stuff. This one's really cool on our website. It's called Robot Attack. You can check it out there. That's a father who's a character animator. He animates children's cartoons. And he did a 11-minute short film with his kids in a post-apocalyptic robot world. And he animated in this robot, but he shot the whole thing with our lens. And it's brilliant. If you didn't know any better, you didn't know this guy did this in his basement over a few years. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. And we're hoping that maybe you guys would be interested in making the next one. So there's just a lot of really great opportunities. And so if anything you got to this presentation is just to see kind of how easily and accessible a lot of these things are these days. You can really do a lot with your iPhone, and with some additional accessories you can really make yourself the next Spielberg. So
well, yeah, and you think about Spielberg and Lucas and all the film producers now, grew up with 8mm cameras, shooting in their living rooms with cardboard and now they're the toasts of Hollywood and influential and make these amazing movies. What are people today shooting on an iPhone going to be like in 10, 15, 20 years?
Exactly. You look at kind of the editing software in general. Anyone with a laptop and an iPhone can rival a major film studio. We look every day at different influencers on YouTube. I mean, these people are getting 1 million views for something they created in their basement that would take some film production studio weeks to do and cost way more money. So it's just really cool to see kind of the accessibility and just what is out there. So any other questions? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yep. So we're working on a few solutions for that, and we have some that are in development that we can't talk too much about, but Scott can probably answer that question a little bit better than I could.
All right, thank you. So regarding the ultra-wide camera, basically there's no way any lens can work over that because it's so wide to start with. So, but we're working on a solution which will let you attach our lens to both the tele, the quote tele, and the normal wide camera. Right, filters are no problem. There really aren't any case solutions out there that provide a mount currently to cover the ultra wide, but we're working on some kind of clever thing that'll let us cover really that and the other cameras simultaneously.
Any other questions? Anything you ever want to know about optics? And yeah, because this is the guy to ask.
Nope.
So yes and no. Filmic is more for shooting. That's the one you've been looking at. As far as other post-production, the post-production stuff we recommend is Adobe Premiere has kind of become just the industry standard. But other than that, there's a free software called DaVinci Resolve, and that's been really good too, and it's free, and it's really great. So that would be the best one if you want to looking to get into film editing. Also, if you're a Mac user, iMovie is just a really great intro way to just start chopping stuff up and getting into it. It has its limitations, but if you're just looking to kind of get into it a little bit, that's it. And DaVinci Resolve is awesome.
Blackmagic is an amazing company too. The hardware they make for getting stuff into your computer.
And that's what works with DaVinci Resolve. So that's been pretty exciting. LumaFusion. LumaFusion is another one for your phone. So we have had, there's a film that was shot on our lens in India. They're starting to move it around to different film festivals. It was shot, edited, and distributed all from their phone. So what's really fascinating about India, some Middle Eastern countries in general, is that they've kind of skipped over the whole laptop thing and went right to mobile because the infrastructure wasn't really there for them to have personal computers. And so it's really, really cool to see kind of what's coming out of there and what's being done with mobile. So yeah, LumaFusion and Fusion Touch. Obviously, it'll be a little bit easier to edit on an iPad if you have it. But yeah, you can do it all right there too. It's really cool stuff. So yeah, something to dive into. Cool. Yeah, some big ones are Momo Fest is one. This iPhone filmmaker, I've seen this one before too. Yeah, we sponsor a number of them. We just wrapped up one in Barcelona. That was called Cinefilm. That one is a really good one. And then we're also Filmic Pro, the app that you saw. They're sponsoring one right now too. And actually the director of Tangerine, the director of Steven Soderbergh, the director of The High Flying Bird, they're all celebrity judges. So yeah, it's just a movement that's really kind of picking up here. You had a question? Yes and no. Yes, there are people. Yes, yeah, no, they are. It's not like but it's iPhone has kind of become, I don't want to say a standard, but it was the first one of the app market, and I think that's where a lot of the app users are. That's where just a lot of the higher end users are. So yeah, we've seen it on Pixels, we've seen it on Samsungs, but you know the quality is iPhone is where we've seen the highest quality films come out of, right, Scott? That makes sense. Great question.
And one of the coolest things they showed in the next version of Filmic, especially for documentarians, is it can shoot from both cameras at the same time. So normally when you're filming a documentary, you shoot your subject, and then you turn your camera around, you say goodbye, thanks, and then you turn your camera around and you film yourself nodding, and then feed that all in together. Yep. So now being able to shoot both cameras at once, you can shoot the interviewer and the interviewee at the same time, and your production is a lot faster. Your production is more natural because it's not you're trying to nod to the question that was already answered half an hour ago. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention, it's also just a less obtrusive. It's not like you have these big giant cameras sitting. I used to work in news media, and it was amazing. Like you'd set up a shot, reverse shot, so you'd have two cameras, and you'd have a third one getting both, and it's just a lot. Now you can just set up a phone, and it just feels so much natural. That's what a lot of the actors from Blue Moon. There's a lot of great behind-the-scenes stuff. Again, you can find a lot of it on our website. But some great behind-the-scenes video where the actors are like, it was so great to just act and not have this big obtrusive camera in my face. It was just a little phone, which is easy to kind of ignore and look past. And that was really kind of cool to see. Yes, sir? So different prices. We have different price ranges. So the clamp-on lens runs $175. The screw-in is $150. And then the case solutions vary as well. So again, compared to like the multiple thousands of dollars that it used to be. But yeah, that's kind of the general really competitive in the market that we are in. So yeah.
Do you have a retail show floor, or do you do everything internet?
Everything is online. We are based in Fairport, so for all you locals, just give us a shout, and we can work something out. We always guys want to come up, but generally we run everything online. And again, just kind of selling worldwide, everywhere from Thailand to New Zealand to here, and yeah. So that's Scott, and then other co-founder Julie Gerstenberger, who both former Kodak designers. So. Oh, and BH. Sorry, how could I forget? Yes, we are in B&H as well. So for those people who buy photo and video and audio equipment there, you can find us there. So, yes, sir. Anodized aluminum. I mean, we do a lot of the assembly right here in Rochester, in Fairport. So, yeah. What's up? Yes, yes. How about we'll go turquoise and red? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Right.
It was a big family event to pull out the slide projector and the 8mm film, and yeah.
Now we airplay it from our phones right to the TV. And you know, it's funny. I started off this whole presentation talking about who shoots video and who does filmmaking, and it's interesting that we still use that term film. We don't capture anything on film. It's not when we go to the movies, we don't see a projector anymore. It's all digital yet. That term filmmaking, it still makes a really big. It's still impactful, and it sounds so weighty. But it's so accessible, and that's kind of what our big. That's really the hope, the takeaway tonight is that you see all this gear. Yeah, there's all these different accessories, but this is also accessible, for you or anybody else that I think they might be kind of interested in this. Please tell them about our company, and we just love to talk to people and show them how you can achieve a lot with a little these days. So, and you got a question, ma'am? So the clamp-on lenses, yes, those are phone specific. Those are our initial models. The 12.5 millimeter thread works with various phone models. So yeah, again, the goal is always to try to make it as universal as possible. The most universal one that you saw was the 37 millimeter thread. That was the biggest one that had the biggest round back. Yeah, I don't know if you have that. Yeah, lenses, perfect. Yep, that one right in the middle here. That one's probably our most universal because, again, it works with various different things like from helium core to B-script to clips, all this sorts of stuff. And then on all of our websites here, you'll find videos for each one of our products so you can learn more about them. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely dig in. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yes. So that's that's this 12.5 millimeter lens, and so that's the one that's we'd say has become it's our second generation. It's about a little over a year old now. But that one's really it's smaller and clips on. Yeah. So that one works well with various cases. So that's the 12.5. This one we'd say is I could say it's most compatible, but it's also for a little bit more robust filmmaking because as you saw, there's kind of some big rigs that you could use for it. So and then this one's again, if you have iPhones 5 through 8, we'd use this one. So always evolving. Again, next year there'll be another new thing and we'll evolve. But the goal is to try to get something that continues to work. Right now, the threaded lens over here would be the best option.
Yeah. So the challenge, of course, is that Apple doesn't give us any heads up on what they're doing. We're just like everyone else, right? We read the rumors, but we don't really know what we have to deal with until the keynote day, right? So, and then we have to work hard to quickly turn something around.
In a former lifetime, I worked in New York City at an Apple store, and the one in Soho. And one of their favorite phrases they always taught everyone. I think I'm past my NDA, so I can tell you guys this now. But their favorite phrase is, "I don't know, let's find out." So if a customer ever walked up to you and they were like, "Hey, how does this work?" You go, "I don't know, let's find out." And you went with that customer and you discovered it together because then you both learned something. So that's a lot what we have to do sometimes with Apple. It's like, well, I don't know, let's find out. I don't know, let's see what comes next. But in this case, we know with these products, we know what we're doing here. So.
Laddie, you didn't tell him how long it would really take, did you?
Yeah, I know, exactly. The day I'll never forget the day the iPad came out, the very first iPad. We showed up at work 20 minutes early, and they're like, "Here's an iPad. Figure out how to use it." There's hundreds of people waiting outside. Now you got to go sell it to them. So you don't really, even if you work for Apple, you don't generally get a lot of heads up. So, yeah. So any other? Thank you guys again so much. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well, thank you, sir.
Word
We'll leave it at that. I'll pay you right after the gig, right? Because, yeah, thank you. All right, cool.
Word Perfect used to throw out candy when something went wrong.
Nothing to see here. Just some hard candies.
Do you remember Word Perfect?
Or Word Perfect, or WordPress nowadays. Anyways, but thank you guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
We'll be here for a little bit. I'll pass around some more stickers, and we'll let you go with everything. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, why don't we take about a 15, 20-minute break. We'll let the guys get packed up. They were rushing off to catch a train, was it? If anyone wants to renew their dues, I'll be up here. We also have some goodies in the back that Shirley has done. And thanks, and we'll reconvene in a few minutes. 30. Yep. Anyone have change for 10? Okay, we might end up, yeah. There isn't a new update. No, I know. There's an upgrade that will cause other problems, so don't do it. Yeah. Okay, so just well, so what happens with your email? Is there an error message? Yeah, I can't even get it. It doesn't open. Doesn't open or doesn't show you any mail? So it's Gmail. So for some reason it said that was one of the issues with that update that you. No, I haven't run into that. Oh, okay, because I went on. Usually, I can't get my email. One of the big sort of bottom line things is delete the account and add it back again. The update? No, the mail account. Oh, yeah, okay. I'll try. Especially with Gmail because it saves everything on the server. Yeah, because it gave me a couple things and I thought, I don't know. I was going to ask the guys at work, but I thought, well, I thought I had gone to a site that said that this is one of the things that update did. Yeah, could be. All right. And just another question. If I do buy a product, I know that I can get that Apple TV Plus. Yeah, the Apple TV Plus subscription, yeah. I could give that to anybody, or would I have to keep it? It's tied to your Apple ID. So if I didn't, so when I buy it, it would have my Apple ID on it? Yeah. All right, thanks. Yep. Howdy. Hi. So when the school internet goes down, we're stuck. There was a hiccup in the internet, and it came back up again, and it's streaming again, but it stopped for a minute. Okay, so see, I was trying to do I think I switched him to the 5 gigahertz net, and that seemed to help. Yeah, between the two. But I'm on Ethernet on this one, so the Wi-Fi shouldn't matter. No, but the internet is still through the school, right? Right. Yeah, so if for some reason or other their system is not providing internet. Yeah, for a moment there it was saying that the CIDER had no internet, but then it came back. All right, I was not able to make myself aware that it had come back. Howdy. Good. You are looking for dues, right? Here's my credit card reader. Should be in here. Whoops. No, not that one. Square. Where's my Square program?
Yeah, Square's going to be charging more, huh?
Yeah, they lowered their rate, but added a swipe charge.
Yeah, 10 cents a charge.
Yeah.
What are the dues now? Still
30,
30?
yep. Connected, not now. Dues, charge. Okay. inspection complete. You're all set.
Thank you, sir.
All right, and then one for you. Dues. Charge. Looks like it's on this side. Okay, sign there. Done. Extra card. Complete. All right. Could have sworn I hit 9. Title. All righty. We'll get changed for a 10 in a minute, we hope. Okay. Howdy. Good to see you. Yeah, been a while.
Yeah. So what's have the 11s actually come out? Do you have one, or people have them yet?
Yeah, they came out a couple weeks ago.
Okay. I know there was like a pre-order thing on them.
Yeah.
So have you guys done a thing on them yet?
We did a quick look, but we haven't done the whole breakdown yet.
Okay. You've been on a vacation somewhere where there's sun? You look like you got some sun.
No, not lately.
Okay.
Yeah, that's December. You still designing stuff?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll be working till I die. It's just hopefully won't be anytime soon.
Yeah.
I turned 65 on the 21st.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My son turns 21 this month, Matthew, and I remember when your kids were born, and did I just see one the other day where he graduated?
John.
Yeah.
John works for RIT, and he was in food service there, and he worked his way up, and then now he wanted to get out of food service, and now he's working for something he describes as the back end of all the registers on campus, all the cash registers. There's software that controls everything.
Point of sale software.
Yeah. So that's what he's like the assistant guy for that now. Daughter's in the army. Suzette, remember she's the coach of all the games and stuff. Down in Fort Bragg.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's a medical like blood lab stuff. She's a sergeant now. Anyway, well, I'll just wait to see what are you guys going to do next?
Yeah, Q&A, open discussion. We're going to talk a little bit, some warnings about the new software coming out. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is that how you spell Aralt? I think so. Pardon? Is that right? Yeah.
I need to see. There's always room
tell everyone that. I actually found a little action cam on Amazon that I was going to get for my airplane. One of my airplanes, you can take the nose cone off and put an action cam in. Yeah.
Your Wi-Fi working again? It went down a little while during the presentation.
Yeah.
There. All right.
The 5 gigahertz seems to be better than the 2.4. All right, I need to get my. Yeah.
I came up and talked to him real quick.
Looks like it's oozing.
Yeah, you're losing your frosting.
Losing my frosting. I better eat that quick.
Can't do that. Oh, they come on a parachute too?
Well, I bought a bunch of parachutes. I've got a cargo plane where I can open the door in flight.
Oh,
and
man.
the parachute guy. I lost one of my parachute guys. I was too high and it was too windy.
Yeah.
But the first time I dropped one, I was too low and he hit the ground before the chute opened. He was okay though. so the next time I was higher and he floated away. past the trees at the end of the field.
What's the optimal height then?
Depends on the wind. Where did I find it? There it is. A 4K action cam for $75. Pardon? Not yet. Let me. Anyone have change for a 10? All right, Vicky does. Yep. I'm sorry. Change for a 20. I need a 10. I need 2 10s. Sorry. Not yet. Oh, that'll work. Good. Thanks, Barb. Oh, I can. 30. Two 10s is fine. 2 10s for a 20. And a 10 back to you. Yeah. Thank you. Huh. Well, you paid on 10-10 last year, Ed. My notes are still there. Did everybody bring back the demos and samples that were passed around? No free samples today. Yeah, the 5 gigahertz seems to be working for me. Yeah, you're welcome. Yep. Good meeting you. Yep. In Victor at Mac Ave. But I live in Fairport on Mosley near A-Roll. Yeah. Which side of the bridge? North or south? I'm I'm on the south side, so the north is cut off. Max Philly cheesesteaks is cut off from me. I got to go all the way around. Yeah. All righty, why don't we have a seat and we'll start back up again. All righty, first thing we need to announce is that the Saturday Green Apples has been canceled. Bob has a commitment he has to go to. But we will do the Q&A at our house on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Also, the jazz station is in our pledge drive. So while you're listening to sound bites, you can pledge to the station. And we'll pick up with the Q&A about 3 o'clock from about 3 to 5. Jazz 90.1. Member-supported and award-winning Jazz 90.1. And then our board meeting will be next Wednesday, the 16th, at the Irondequoit United Church of Christ. Board meetings are open to members who want to come and see how things run, although showing initiative is a good way to be on the board. And we will be soliciting nominations for the elections coming up in March. So get that thoughts in the back of your mind if you would like to run for a position. And also, as we're getting into possibility of bad weather, if East High School specifically is closed or the city school district in general is closed, the meeting will be canceled. And check with either WHUC TV 10 or WHAM TV, WHAM Radio, anywhere school closings are listed. If East High School specifically for any reason or the city school district in general is closed, our meeting will be canceled. Next meeting coming up on November 13th. Thank you, guys. Yep. We have Marianne Henry coming in from the Rochester Genealogical Society, talking about doing genealogy on the Mac. Genealogy is a real big thing. A lot of people looking to find their roots. Shirley was just watching, what was that show? Well, she was watching a show on finding your roots. Is it Roots with what's his Louis Gates? Yeah, I was get a kick out of that because it's not Bill Gates, it's Louis Gates, and that was kind of interesting tracing your DNA. Although what's interesting, if you trace your DNA back far enough, we're all related. Eventually, if you go back far. I remember seeing I can't think at the moment. They were doing her DNA. And it turned out she was European, Jessica Alba. And she was shocked and said to her dad, I thought you said we were from Spain. Yes, Spain is in Europe. You're European. And then, as I mentioned, December 11th, will be Adam Engst from Tidbits. Tidbits is one of the longest running, if not the longest running, Macintosh blog and journal and book series. 29 years they've been going. I think we're 40. What are we? 41 years since 1978. Yeah, 41 years. With CIDER, so that was pretty good. Soundbites just celebrated our 35th anniversary, so a lot of us have been in this a very long time. Yeah, the getting old, getting gray hairs. Alrighty, so one of the things I want to talk about is Catalina. Apple officially released Catalina yesterday. I don't want Apple one. So macOS 10.15 Catalina. It has a lot of neat new features. A lot of people are excited to install it. However, we are recommending you do not install it yet, especially on your main machine, especially on machines you earn money with. Again, do not install Catalina on a machine you're trying to earn money with. If you have a spare machine or a second hard drive you can install it on, go ahead and play. One of the biggest changes in Catalina is it drops support for 32-bit apps. So every application you run has to be 64-bit, and that's a way of programming in the background. A lot of people don't know what apps they have. So if you go to your Apple menu and choose About This Mac, this will bring up a About screen, and one of the buttons in the first page is System Report. So if you open your System Report, a lot of people have gone in here to see how much RAM they have installed, what's connected to the USB. So it's kind of a neat program that tells you all the stuff about your computer. One of the things there's something called Applications under Software. And it's now looking across my hard drive, finding all the applications. So it may take a moment, which is a little disconcerting. Little tiny spinny thing down here in the bottom right corner you're supposed to notice. Yes? Good. Yep. Here's a list of all the applications, and there is a column at the top called 64-bit Intel. And if you click on that, you can sort by no, or yes or no. And I'm going to make the columns a little smaller so maybe we can see what the names are. And you'll notice a lot of applications are not 64-bit. All the Adobe Creative Suites. I have an older Adobe Creative Suite. A lot of my audio editors are not 64-bit. A lot of my Google stuff is not 64-bit. A bunch of games that happen to be here are not 64-bit. My radio recording program is not 64-bit. Well, part of the problem is because we've migrated from machine to machine to machine for the last 30 years, which a lot of people have, you end up with a lot of these old programs, and you may still rely on some of these old programs. And in fact, for the past couple of system versions, Apple is warning you when you launch the program that this application is not optimized for the Mac, and you should contact the developer. Well, that was the first warning that you were opening a 32-bit app. And in the last couple of versions of Mojave, they got a little bit stronger worded. This version of the application is not compatible with the next operating system. And so they've been giving people warnings. But we had a lot of calls today. I spent most of the morning at a company where they just clicked update, because you're supposed to install updates. You're supposed to be wary of upgrades. So the 14.6 was an update, fixes problems. 15 is an upgrade, it introduces problems. And all of their Adobe software stopped working. Their Kodak RIP software stopped working. So the whole company stopped earning money because they couldn't print any of their stuff. Microsoft Office 2019, somewhere along the way, I forget when they went to 64-bit. Let me see. 64-bit. let me see, Office. Let me change that to Office Mac. So Windows has had this similar issues. Okay, 2016 had a 64-bit version. So if you're still running an older 2011 or 2008, you need at least 2016, and they had a 64-bit update, and 2019 is out now. There was a program. George, did you have the program that will show you your apps? Do you remember what that is called? Is that what it is? Yeah. So there's an app called Go64 from St. Clair that will look through your system. It actually it looks very similar to that Apple thing. It's probably using the same underlying thing. I am going to download that. So this will search your hard drive. Now here's a new security feature that showed up in Safari 13 that you may have under Mojave and High Sierra, that when you go to download something, there's a warning and asking if you want to allow this website to download something. Well, I know I clicked to download, so I'm going to say allow. There's a huge problem with what we call drive-by downloads, where you go to a website and a malicious ad downloads malicious software in the background without you realizing it. And so now this thing is going to pop up and say, do you want to allow this website to download? If you didn't specifically go looking for that download, you should say no. So I'm going to say allow, so it downloads that. And it looks like it's a pretty fast program. I like the icon as Route 64. And then previous systems have already been warning you the first time you open an app you downloaded from the internet. So again, to try to help you avoid drive-by downloads, things that downloaded without your knowledge, and that's how a lot of malicious software gets into your computer. The other big problem with malicious software is fake update notices. We've talked about it in the past. You get a fake notice that your Flash needs to be updated or your Java needs to be updated. So you think it's real, you click on update, and it installs the malicious program. And you bypass all the warnings because you thought you needed to download it, so you said, yeah, go ahead and download. Right. There were problems with some installers that when we ran into this when we switched from 16-bit to 32-bit, that the installer is only 32-bit. The program will work, but if you ever need to reinstall it, it won't work because the installer is only 32-bit. And I like how this has an option to tell you how much it might cost to upgrade. So now you can go through all of your stuff, and I'm going to set that I need to. Oh, it doesn't know. And so then you can accumulate all of your costs on how much it's going to cost you for this free system upgrade. Yeah, and you go to the Adobe page and your heart starts beating. So Adobe is one of the companies that have gone subscription only for their Creative Suite. They have a couple of nice deals. $10 a month, you get Photoshop and Lightroom. So if you're doing photo editing, that's a pretty good deal. $30 a month, actually I think they're raising it to $50 a month, gives you the entire suite for photo, video, and web editing. Right. If you save the work on Adobe Cloud, that's an extra subscription. For most people, especially home users that need just basic editing, the Photos app can do a lot already, or programs like Acorn or Pixelmator, Graphic Converter even, are $20, $30 shareware programs that work great for photo editing. Or even Adobe Photoshop Elements is $100, single price, one-time purchase. And so very few people outside of the professional industries needs the full Photoshop, which used to be a $700 program all by itself. George? Right, with Adobe CC you don't have to save in the cloud, but you can if you want to. It can be an advantage if you work with teams, and so everybody in your team member, no matter where they are, can look at the cloud and see the file.
The other thing is, I believe if you install like Microsoft Office 2019 and some of these later versions, you can install it as either 32 or 64-bit.
So the question is about Microsoft Office comes in 32-bit and 64-bit versions. I think on the Mac it's only 64-bit. On Windows you can get a 32-bit or 64-bit because Microsoft is still selling Windows in both formats. So it, let me look at mine. So George is saying that his Microsoft installed 32-bit only. See, when you download Office for Mac, it doesn't ask you. It only gives you one. That's a difference. So mine is 64-bit because when I say 32-bit only, it doesn't show it. So Microsoft does have a subscription service, $100 a year for 5 computers, 5 phones, and 5 tablets, which is a nice deal if you have 5 phones, 5 computers, or 5 tablets. So for a family, that's a pretty good deal. But Microsoft is still selling Office as a what we now call perpetual license, $150 per computer. And if it's just you and you're only using one computer, that's usually the better way to do it. If you want Office on your iPad, then you have to do the subscription service. To edit files. You can get Office for free on your iPad if you just want to view, but you don't even need Office to view Office files. The iPad will do that natively. But I'm checking in the Microsoft download option. I don't remember seeing a 32-bit versus 64-bit for Mac. Yeah, I don't know offhand because I've never seen that option. Except on the Windows version where some people are still running Windows 32. There's no reason to. In Windows, the big limit is if you have less than 4 gigs of RAM, Windows 32 is all you need. Because 32-bit Windows and 32-bit Mac can only see 4 gigs of RAM. So that was the first big, the last big switch we had from 32-bit to 64-bit when we started getting more than 4 gigs of RAM capable. I would say, so you bought the Microsoft Office Perpetual. One of the things Microsoft has done, let me close some of these windows, is even when you buy the retail physical box for Office, there's no disk in it. There's just the license key. And you have to download the program from Microsoft. And you put your license key into your Microsoft account, which is kind of nice because if you ever need to reinstall Office, the key is in your account. We have a lot of people come into the store who are upgrading computers, need their Office box to put the key back in that they bought 5 years ago and have no idea where it is. Well, now your choice is to find that box or buy it again. And so by Microsoft holding the keys, it makes it a little easier for the next time you need to install. But it does mean now you have to register your serial number with Microsoft, which prevents you from stealing copies to pay for one copy and put it on 3 of your computers, because it doesn't let you do that anymore. Yes. Mm-hmm. So the question is about the last used date in Go64. I don't know if it means you've never used them or you've never used them since they started adding the last opened field in the Mac. in the Finder windows now, you can have a date last opened field. They added that a few system versions ago. I don't remember which one it was. So it may be that you just haven't opened it in several years since they started keeping track of that field. Yeah, if you haven't opened it in that long, you probably don't need it. Right. And so by looking at this list, you can see what 32-bit apps, either you use that app a lot and shouldn't upgrade to Catalina, or you go to the developer and find out about a 64-bit upgrade, or you keep an old computer running the older OS and your new computer can run the newer software. Yeah, quite a few people have done that. George, again, you had another comment on that. Oh. Yep. So Microsoft Office, Microsoft Office in 2008 and 2011 are not 64-bit. Right. Yeah, so the Microsoft Office 64-bit upgrade. So you must have a piece of the old version, the old program still in your computer. Yep. George. Yeah. Let me sort here. So do I have? No, I got rid of most of my old Microsoft apps. There, more info, yeah. So sometimes the app itself is maybe compatible, but in this case, it relies on a third-party thing that's not compatible. So. Yep. Right. So Play on Mac, which is a implementation of virtual. It's not VirtualBox, not Virtual Machine. Wine, to let you run Windows software on your Mac. The app is 64-bit, but Python that it uses, which is the programming language, is not 64-bit. So that won't work. So if you're thinking of upgrading to Catalina, we talk about this with every major system version. Look at your applications you use. Check with those developers to make sure they're compatible. There is, let's see if Roaring Apps. Roaring Apps has been a website that's been around for a long time that will look at. Let me do CS6 in here. Looks at application versions and will tell you what compatibility is for different system versions. So here, Photoshop CS6 I have. There are reports that there are problems, but they don't have any data for Catalina yet, and that's most likely because CS6 is not a 64-bit app. Oh, it may be. Let me go here. Because CS6 is so old. Yeah, so the Adobe apps are not 64-bit. So I may not upgrade this machine to Catalina. The other thing too is you don't want the 0.0. Wait for at least the 0.1, if not the 0.2 patch. Even if all of your stuff is compatible, there might be weird little things that will happen without you realizing it. Yep. Yeah, so that can be a problem too. As George mentioned, that the main app might be compatible, but one of your plugins or one of your extensions may not be compatible. There we go. Don't upgrade to Catalina if you use Photoshop or Lightroom. One of the things that's happened, I wonder if it's happened on mine, with Mojave, you now have a software update button inside your system preferences that does your system updates separate from the App Store that does your application updates. So in software update, we've been seeing computers now are saying Catalina is ready to install. And then under that, there's an other, which will still run your Mojave updates. And people are getting tricked by that. Here it is. So Catalina is ready to install. It's 8 gigs. I can upgrade now. So that's the keyword. Or updates are available. And if I go on more info, there's an update to Safari. That's okay to put in. But the upgrade is a major change, and you need to check all your other stuff to make sure that major change is going to work for what you use. So the question is, will the upgrade go away? When you upgrade, then it will go away. Yeah, so you can still update what you have. In the older system versions, you used to get a notification window would pop out and say, High Sierra is ready to install, or Mojave is ready to install. And there was no don't install button. It was okay or later. Neither. And it really frustrated us because Microsoft got into the same mess with Windows 10. They put Windows 10 in the software update channel. So if you dutifully installed your Microsoft updates, suddenly you had Windows 10 because it was an update. No, it's not an update. And so there were programs released. Steve Gibson at GRC wrote a program called Never 10 to stop your Windows from ever upgrading to Windows 10. And he still gets a lot of downloads. He's still doing 250 downloads a day. Of this program. 3 million people have downloaded it to stop their machine from upgrading to Windows 10. And it was a huge uproar and flack all over the internet. And the problem was exacerbated by Microsoft saying, oh, no, you should just run Windows 10. Well, yeah, but my printer doesn't work, my scanner doesn't work, my software doesn't work. So just buy all new stuff. No, we don't want to do that. And so what's happening on the Mac side, Apple started doing the same thing. You should upgrade, without warning you things might be a problem. And by saying, yes or later, you have to keep saying later, and then one time when you're busy doing something else, you click yes accidentally, and then it does. Or you wake up in the morning and there's a new OS and all your important programs don't work anymore. Yes? Maybe. So the question is so we recommend waiting for point 1 or point 2. Do you get that point 1 or point 2? And it depends. If I go into my applications folder and I search for install, yeah. So you might see in your folder there might be a install High Sierra, install Mojave, and that downloaded that automatically to be ready for you to install. But that is likely the old version. So what we would recommend is you delete that from your applications file and install it, download it again now so you do get it. So otherwise you'll install the 13.0 and then it will reboot and find a 13.2 patch, and then you'll have to install that again. So it'll take twice as long instead of just installing the 13.1 or 13.2 when it's eventually available. Yep. Yeah. Have a backup before you do anything. So the companies we've been talking with today, thank goodness they have a backup, because the only way to downgrade is erase your hard drive and install from a backup you made before you installed Catalina. Yep. In fact, when I got to the company this morning, Time Machine was dutifully backing up the Catalina upgrade because it was backing up again. No, stop! I don't want that. So we restore from yesterday's backup, not the one that you just tried to do now. So before you do anything major, have a backup. That way, if backup. Backup all the time, period. So you never know when you're going to lose a file. You never know when your hard drive is going to die. You never know when there's going to be a fire in your house. And so you want to have a backup, period. But especially before you do something major, like upgrade your operating system so that you have a copy. It can be, you can get cheap hard drives and back up the hard drives. A lot of people worry about fire, flood, theft, so your computer and the hard drive sitting next to it are both lost. And so some people will have a rotating set of hard drives and take a hard drive and put it in a safe deposit box, or carry one between home and work, just so you have a backup off-site. You can use backup services like Carbonite or CrashPlan that will back up off-site. Some people try to use iCloud Drive as a backup, but it isn't a backup, it's a sync. So you can upload your stuff to Apple's iCloud if you want, and you end up paying for more storage space. But if you make a change on your computer, that change is automatically synced to the cloud. And then say you accidentally delete a file, that change is synced to the cloud and the file's deleted. So you make a change to a file and you realize you want yesterday's back, it's gone because it was synced to the cloud. It's not a backup, it's a sync. So that's why Time Machine does what's called an incremental backup. It backs up your files, keeps all the old ones, so you can go back to yesterday, last week, last month, and get your files back that you may not notice that file disappeared 6 months ago, but it's still in your backup drive. So having a backup of any kind is better than nothing. We get a machine in the shop now. His hard drive died. He has no backup, but I really need my pictures. All right, well, we'll go to Drive Savers, and you're probably looking about $2,000 to get your data back. They have a clean room and space suits, and they take the drive apart and literally look at it bit by bit. So your 1 terabyte drive has 1 trillion bytes on it, and each byte has about 10 bits. So 10 trillion bits they have to look at, one by one by one by one by one by one. Yeah. Right, even stuff like that is not a guarantee they can get your data back. Right, we've had a few recoveries where all the file names are lost and all the folder names are lost. So you get 1,000 files called JPEG 1, JPEG 2, JPEG 3, and a lot of them are junk from inside the application. So every application has little icons. Those are JPEGs. Yeah, George, and then Frank.
When you look at that list of 32 versus 64 bits, what's the best way to clean it up and get rid of the 32s that you don't want?
So what's the best way to clean up your 32-bit apps? There's a reveal in Finder that will find where that file is, but most programs have an uninstaller. Some programs, you just drag the program to the trash. So it depends on how you installed them in the first place. If they have an installer that you use to install it, then there probably is an uninstaller that you have to use, because then it will also get the help files and the support files and things like that. If it was an image that you just dragged onto your hard drive, then you can probably just drag it to the trash. It's one of the annoyances we have, that where they tried to make things easy, just you drag install, which means you can drag delete. Not all programs are that helpful. And so you often have to go back through, try to remember how you got it in the first place. And you're right, so fat chance of remembering how you got it. But the bigger programs, Adobe, Microsoft, are generally commercial programs you buy in a retail box are generally installers. Apps that you bought online or especially through the App Store are generally a single app icon, and you can drag that icon to the trash to get rid of it. So the question is about expecting to see installers in your list. Not always, because the installer is on a CD that's not in the computer, or the installer was a disk image file that you downloaded, and so it's not on the computer, it's in the image. But I would imagine, here's the Adobe uninstaller. So the Adobe uninstaller does live on your hard drive. Well, right now I'm only listing 32-bit apps. So this is the 32-bit uninstaller because my Adobe CS6 is only 32-bit. Frank. So iOS 13, in a similar vein, has had 3 patches. We're 13.1 and 13.2 out now. So it is probably safe to install. But the same thing, you need to check with developers of apps you use to see what apps may stop working when you upgrade. Unfortunately, I don't know of a way to scan your phone to look for apps that don't work, like you can with this Go64 on the Mac. Oops. Yeah, there have been issues of people reporting the Bluetooth connection to their car doesn't work. A lot of times, if you have each device, your car and your phone, forget and then try to repair, that sometimes works, but not always. We could do an iOS 13 compatibility. This may just tell us, this just tells us what apps are compatible. Phones that support it, I want to know what apps don't support it. Let's see, this sounds no, this is just hardware. So have a good backup. Again, same advice. Back up your phone, even back it up to your computer with iTunes, back it up to iCloud, so you have 2 backups. Install the update, check your apps, see if there's any updates to the apps you use all the time, and if they don't work and there's no update, then you can restore from your backup. Or a lot of times you can Google the app you use a lot to see if it is compatible with iOS. Or actually, you can, if you go into the App Store. No, I can't get to the iOS App Store on the computer. If you go into the App Store on your phone, it will tell you what system version that app works with. And if it says 13, then you know it'll work. If it doesn't say 13, it's hit or miss, and you may have to contact the developer. So one of the features in Catalina is iTunes app is now no longer an app. They have rolled the functionality of iTunes into the Finder. So when you plug your phone in, I can probably find a list of that. When you plug your phone into your computer, the phone shows up in the Finder sidebar, and it looks exactly like iTunes, because it is. The code for iTunes was just rolled into the desktop. So if you still do manual syncing to your phone, you do it on the Finder. To do your backups to the computer, you do it in the Finder. One of the things we've seen, especially on laptops, because the solid-state drives in laptops are so relatively small, you back up a couple of iPhones and iPads, and then suddenly your drive is full because of all these old backups. So it's that catch-22. If you don't have enough free cloud space, so you try to back up to your computer, but now your computer's full. All right, so then you buy that. So 99 cents a month for 50 gigabytes on iCloud isn't too bad. A lot of people, $12 a year. That's not too bad to be able to back up a couple of devices. So the iTunes app is gone, and it's just built now into the Finder. So if you didn't know any better, this is the Finder sidebar, and it just looks like iTunes, because it's this. We guess they just pulled that module out and stuck it in the Finder. But there was a big uproar. Oh, iTunes is gone. How am I supposed to sync? You use the sync command in the Finder. The functionality is still there, just the program is gone. Then, if you still use iTunes for Windows, we're not sure what's going to happen there. Are they going to keep developing iTunes for Windows separately, or are they going to abandon it and not let you sync to your computer? With most iPhones, in fact, for the past several years, you haven't needed a computer. The phones can be set up on the phone itself. You do all your application purchasing, everything on the phone itself. It doesn't need to be tied to a computer. So I could see them abandoning iTunes for Windows and saying, we'll just use the phone. It does everything you used to need the computer for, except backup to the computer, which you would use iCloud backup for. All right, another question? Sort of all merging together here. Yeah, Ed? The program is called Go64, so I just Googled Go64, and it's St. Clair software, and there's a download button. And if you like, you can donate some money to them for the development. A lot of programmers just write something because they wanted to, and then release it in the public. RoaringApps.com is a website that's been around forever, back when the Macintosh code names were large roaring cats. So that probably started with Panther. See, what is it? Cheetah, jaguar, panther, tiger, leopard, snow leopard, lion, mountain lion. And then we went to California landmarks, so it was Mavericks. And then El Capitan. No, Yosemite was 1010. El Capitan was 1011. And then Sierra was 1012. High Sierra was 1013. And Mount Mojave was 1014, so we were in the desert. Now 1015 is Catalina. We're off the coast now. So they're bouncing around California. But so large roaring cats, family Pantherus. So Roaring Apps was kind of a neat one for that. Does it say why it can't open it? Sounds like the download failed. Yeah, so delete what it downloaded and try again. So Safari shouldn't be trying to open the file because it's an application. And yeah, so we're having some weird internet hiccups here. So you can try downloading it again, or when you get home you can try downloading it too. Yeah. Or you can join the school district's guest network directly and create an account with them. Yep. Yeah, so here's the alert that's been coming up. So it's not optimized, and it used to say may not work, and now it says will not work with future versions, because we're going 64-bit only. Same thing happened in iOS a few years ago. Right, well, for Microsoft Office, you'd have to buy the $150 2019, or go for the $10 a month subscription, or switch to the free Apple apps, Pages, Keynote, and Numbers, which will read and write Microsoft Office files. It just looks a little different, and so your workflow is a little different. Yeah, Pages will open a Word file, no problem. The trick is if you're going to send the file to someone, you'll have to send it as a Word file, because if they're using Word. You can also use LibreOffice, which is a free Office app. Same issue though. Yeah, every Mac user has Pages. Even without realizing it, they have it. Comes on iPads and iPhones too. So, although on the smaller devices, I think the 16 gig, maybe even the 32 gig devices, it doesn't come pre-installed, but it's a free download. Charlie? Right. So in the App Store, it will show you. There's a section now for updates. In fact, the App Store looks completely different in Mojave. There's a section for updates, and it will show you what needs to be updated. It may say you have incompatible updates, and what that means is there's an update to Pages that only runs under Mojave, and since you're still running High Sierra, the update's incompatible. So you're running the highest version you can for High Sierra, but if you upgraded to Mojave, you'd get a newer version. Right, the App Store shows you updates for the app, and if your OS isn't compatible with that update, then it doesn't show you that update, and tells you there's incompatible updates. Yes. So the question is, if they find a security flaw, they might release an update for an older computer. Generally speaking, they go back 1, sometimes 2 system versions. We're still getting updates for High Sierra 10.13, even though 10.14's been out for a year. But the updates for 10.12, I don't think have kept coming. Yeah. Let's go to support.apple.com/download. Downloads, and we'll do OS. Yeah, so 10.14 update, 10.13 update. Yeah, I don't see any 10.12 updates. So even though 10.14 was the current version, they were still going back 1 version. Oh, there were some updates for 10.12. So they were going back 2 system versions. So now that 10.15 is out, they'll probably still support 10.14 and 10.13. If you're running 10.12, they may not release updates for that anymore. 13 is High Sierra. So if you're running 10.12 Sierra, there's no reason to not run High Sierra. But if you're running an older computer, the 2012s, 13s, some even the 14s and 15s, we're not recommending Mojave. Mojave tends to run slower on older computers unless you have at least 8 gigs of RAM, 16 preferred, or you have an SSD. Then Mojave tends to be fast enough. So I have a 2012 Mac Mini at home with 10 gigs of RAM, and Mojave is really slow. I'm wondering if Catalina is going to help with that. Partly because it's going to strip out all the 32-bit apps that I'm probably running. So I'm going to have to check my Mac at home. But if you're running 10.12, it's probably safe to upgrade to 10.13. If your computer is more than 2 or 3 years old, you probably want to stick at 10.13 and don't go to 14 yet. There is a program called Mac Tracker. I'm not sure if this data is available separately. But there's a program called Mac Tracker that we use a lot. And if you have that installed, it basically lists every Macintosh and a lot of other Apple devices as well. So in 1976, the Apple I came out. But one of the neat things it does is it's got this Mac, and it will tell you about your Mac. It will tell you what the latest OS it can run, and it will tell you the maximum memory your computer can run, which is kind of handy to find out. And you can go through some of the other models. And so I'm going to go to my Mac Mini, and I have a 2012 Mac Mini. So under software, I can go to 10.15. I don't know if I want to, but I can. And under memory, I could go to 16 gigs. So I could upgrade from 10 to 16. So that's mactracker.ca. It's a more of a thing that techies use to figure out what you've got. But it's a handy app to figure out what your maximum OS is, if you can upgrade the RAM on your computer, if you can upgrade the OS on your computer. It's an interesting one. For Catalina itself, Apple has a list down near the bottom here of what computers are compatible. All the way down at the bottom here. There we are. So the MacBook 2015 and later, MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini, iMac 2012 and later, the iMac Pro 2013 and later. So that's the trash can or later on the Mac Pro. So if you have the older cheese grater, I love the nicknames we've come up with. If you have the older cheese grater Mac Pro, that won't work. And then the iMac Pro 2017 was when they introduced it, so it demo better work. But again, even though Catalina will technically work on a 2012, you may not want to if you don't have enough memory and storage. And the solid-state drives are a big boon in opening and closing files. So if you have one of the problems that Apple did when they added the Retina machines, they switched from a standard 2.5-inch hard drive bay to a custom PCIe slot. So it makes it harder to upgrade the storage on your computer. And then in later models of the Mac, you cannot upgrade the storage or the RAM because it's soldered onto the logic board. So when I go into this Mac, you may notice I don't have a memory button. Other Macs will have a memory button because it will tell you how much memory you have, and it tells you what slots you've got, which means you can take the memory out of that slot and put a bigger memory card in. On this model computer, the memory is soldered and cannot be changed. But fortunately, the storage drive, let me think. No, this model too, the storage drive is soldered and cannot be changed. Makes it easier and cheaper to manufacture. It makes it a lot harder to upgrade later. So it almost forces you into a newer machine, and which is why when we bought this machine, I got the i7 16 RAM and a 512 SSD, hoping it would make it last longer. So this is now 3 generations old. Doesn't seem like that long ago. There's a lot of rumors about a 16-inch MacBook Pro coming this fall, which brings in the rumors about an October event. So there's a lot of rumors about a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is the same 15-inch form factor but smaller bezels. So they're making the screen bigger. So which the 15-inch model is technically 15.4 now. So they're making the screen bigger by making the bezels smaller, which they've done on the iPads recently and on the other MacBooks. And there's rumors about new iPad Pros. So there's a lot of speculation that Apple's going to have an October event somewhere in the end of October. Let me bring up a calendar here. And so probably Tuesday the 21st. Maybe not, because that's is the 24th Thanksgiving? I'm on the wrong month, yeah. Yeah, there's no thing. So we don't have to worry about Thanksgiving yet. So probably, likely the 22nd, maybe the 29th. Maybe not the 29th because the next day's Halloween. They generally have their meetings on Tuesday, which gives them Monday to practice, so people don't have to come into work on Sunday to get ready for the presentation. So generally it's on a Tuesday. But that's a possibility and rumors that we've heard about new machines coming. Ed? Mm-hmm. So the question is how to back up multiple computers. And I'm trying to find, because we're running on the projector and I have too many icons, I can't get to there we are, there's my Time Machine icon. So Time Machine on your computer is an automatic backup program. It backs up every hour so that you don't lose more than an hour's worth of work, and you probably didn't do that much in an hour, so it's going to be really fast. It will back up to a local hard drive you plug into your computer. It will also back up into a network hard drive. So some people will have one hard drive they just carry around to their computers, which is annoying to have to do. And on a laptop, you tend to forget to do that. And so, weeks go by, and you're always intending to back up your stuff, and then suddenly there's a crash, and you haven't backed up in 6 months. Apple used to make the time capsule, which is a router with a hard drive built into it, and that was especially handy because all of your computers would connect through the router to the internet, which meant they were all connected to each other through that router. And so all your computers could back up to that network hard drive very easily. We sold a lot of those because it made a lot of sense. Apple discontinued that, and they haven't announced a replacement yet, and we're kind of sure they're not going to replace it now. So if you have, say, an iMac, which a lot of people will have a big desktop iMac, and then they have their laptops they carry around. You can put a big hard drive on your iMac. So you could say, get a 1 terabyte drive for each of your 4 computers, or get a 4 terabyte drive, put it on your iMac, and share it to the network. And one of the options you have in your system preferences is file sharing. And so you can share that hard drive to the network, and then all your other computers will back up to the hard drive connected to that Mac. And the caveat is that Mac has to be on and awake to allow the other computers to back up. So if you have an iMac like that, that's something you can do. The other thing that we're starting to, we're doing some research at our office too, many third-party routers have a USB port on them, like the Apple router did. And so if you have an Apple Airport Extreme, it has a USB port on it. You can plug a hard drive in and create a network hard drive if you don't have a time capsule that has the hard drive built in. But the time capsule also has a USB port, so you can plug another hard drive in if the one inside gets gets full, and you need more space. Many third-party routers have a USB port on the router, and you can plug a hard drive into your router, and then all of your computers can see that hard drive to back up to it. There is a company, there's several companies, one called Synology we've been playing with lately. There are companies that sell network hard drives. It's basically a hard drive with an Ethernet jack on it. So you plug the hard drive into your network, and it becomes a network shared drive for your other devices to see. And let me get to my Amazon link. And the Synology, what was that? Was the 218, I think it was? Yeah, 218J. That's a 2-bay version, so you can put 2 hard drives in it, and then either mirror them together, so if one hard drive fails, you don't lose any of your data. But then there's the 118, which is a 1-drive. Did I do that wrong? Let me do 118. There it is, the 118, and this is, it has 1 drive bay for putting a hard drive in, and so that becomes a network hard drive. A lot of small offices will use a network hard drive to be a central store for all the files the people in the office use, but you can also use a network hard drive to be a backup of your local computers. And so we're seeing companies are adding these network attached storage is the generic term, so a NAS. We're seeing a lot of companies coming out with network storage. LaCie and Seagate, Western Digital, all of the major hard drive companies have a network. Oh, maybe LaCie doesn't have their network one anymore. So Seagate is the parent company of LaCie, so they probably have their, let me just search for NAS here. I know they used to because we sold a lot of them. Maybe that's why we started looking at Synology, because they don't sell it anymore. Yeah, so they used to sell a NAS file but don't anymore. So now one of the things we have found in our that's all support. I didn't want LaCie NAS, I wanted Seagate NAS. One of the things we found a little ironic is that Seagate and Western Digital are the two, probably the two biggest storage companies. And these are all, let me do home. And they both sell, there we go, personal. They both sell NAS drives. There's one from Western Digital, 4 terabyte for $179. Let's see, here's the Seagate one. No, it's a 2-bay one. Seagate for 6 terabyte for $119. Both Seagate and Western Digital make really, really good hard drives. Unfortunately, they put them in crappy cases. So external versions of the Seagate and the Western Digital, we find fail all the time. Frequently and spectacularly. Sometimes we can pull the drive out of the enclosure and put it into a different enclosure, and the drive itself is working fine. And it's just that it's a SATA to USB connector, and how apparently they don't put enough effort into it, or that they're using plastic enclosures and cheap components. So a 4 terabyte drive for $179, that's awful cheap. And it basically has a little computer in it to serve those files to your network to become a network storage drive. And they apparently don't put much effort into it, so the external enclosures don't work very well. Hang on a minute, George. Lyndon? Yes, good point. Yeah, both Seagate and Western Digital have the cheap drives, and then they have the good drives. So you buy the good drives, you're probably safe. In fact, we just bought a Western Digital Red, which is designed for NAS drives to put in our Synology to play with. You look at the home user Western Digital drives. There's the blue drives, the green drives. The black drive is sort of their fast drive for home users, and then the red drive is about twice as expensive. It's an enterprise class designed to run 24/7 and save your business data. So you can have cheap or you can have good. And George? Yeah, there are little sleds or enclosures. We have one we call the toaster, that you take a bare drive and plug it down into the toaster, and then it has a USB connection to your computer. And then when that drive fills up, you pull that one out and put in a bigger one in. There's even there's a company called Drobo. But again, we're back up into small business or even large business. They're network storage. This is the 5. So a 5-bay network storage. It's got 5 bays in it, so you can put 5 hard drives in it. Let's see, the empty drive is like $500, and then you put the drives in it you want. So the empty box is $500, and then you use drives you have laying around, because everyone has drives laying around. Or you can buy it populated with drives. The neat thing with the Drobo is if you start running out of space, so say you put in 4 4s, you run out of space, you take out a 4 and put in an 8, and magically have more space. And then you take out the next 4, put in a 10, and you magically have more space. Right, the Drobo does it all itself. You pull out a small drive, put in a bigger drive, and the Drobo says, oh, I got a bigger drive, here's more space. And the Drobo, they use a technology they're calling Beyond RAID, where a RAID is a way of making multiple disks look like one volume. If one drive fails, you don't lose any data, and so the green light will turn red, and it turns yellow if your drive is full, turns red if it fails. You pull that drive out, put another drive in, and it rebuilds all of your data. You haven't lost any data. If you're really paranoid and run your business on it, you can go to RAID 6, which will allow 2 drives to fail. So normally, with a 5-bay chassis like this, you get the capacity of 4 of the drives. So say you put 4 terabyte drives in it, so that's normally 20 terabytes, but you only get 16 terabytes of storage because you have to have 1 for redundancy. So if 1 drive fails, you don't lose any of your data. So then you pull out the 4, put in an 8, and then start putting bigger drives in, and then a 10, and then a what I think 16 terabytes is the largest single drive now, and it all happens automatically. And if you want to do a 2-drive failure, then any 2 drives can fail. We hear a lot of stories. In fact, one of our customers brought one in. He had 3 drives in his Mac in a RAID. One of the drives failed, and so then it rebuilt itself as a 2-drive RAID, and he never replaced the broken drive. So then the second drive failed, and he lost everything. Right, yeah, with the 5 bay ones, you can only put, well, you could do 1 drive with no redundancy or 2 drives with redundancy. Yep. They also have an 8-bay version. They have a 12-bay version. Yeah, the 5N2 is their network version. So it has, is there a picture? Right, it doesn't have to be in the network. It has a USB interface as well. Or if you really want speed. So if you're using it for backup, USB is fine. Ethernet is convenient because then you plug it to your network and all your computers can back up to it independently. If you're using it for live storage, then you want faster than USB. You probably want Thunderbolt, and now Thunderbolt 3 is the fastest interface. So if you're doing video editing or working on big projects, you're using it as live storage, you want a faster interface. If you're using it for backup, it doesn't matter how long it takes, it's going to back up. George? No. Well, maybe. Yeah, the Drobo is just data. And then so you decide if you want to use a time machine backup, which is bootable, or if you want to use Super Duper or Carbon Copy Cloner, which is bootable. But the time machine gives you incremental backups. Super Duper and Carbon Copy Cloner don't, as far as I remember. But yeah, time machine backups are bootable now. They didn't used to be, but they are now. So if your computer dies, you can boot the time. Well, they're bootable in the fact that you boot the time machine drive and restore onto your new drive. With something like Super Duper, if your main computer dies, you plug this hard drive into another computer, and now it thinks it's your main computer, and you can work until you get the first computer fixed. Yeah, Time Machine works fine with the Drobos or the Synologies. Yeah. Yes. So in many enclosures, there's a limit to the maximum size they take. In the early days, there was a 4 terabyte limit, and so only 1 terabyte drives were around. And so the early Drobos, the 4-bay Drobos, have a 16 terabyte limit because 4 terabytes was the biggest drive you could get, and so 4x4 was 16. I don't know what their limit is now. The operating system limit is 16 exabytes. Yeah. So we're starting to use petabytes now. 1,000 terabytes is a petabyte, and 1,000 petabytes is an otobyte. 1,000 otobytes is a nanobyte. 1,000 nanobytes is an exabyte. So it's a huge number. All right, so the Drobo is limited to 64 terabytes. Aww. Actually, Apple used to make a 14-bay RAID, and in a standard rack, was it 10 or 12? And they had 750 terabytes in a single RAID volume with this one, a couple $100,000. But Hollywood movies use several of them. A typical movie, even a movie you don't think of as having a lot of special effects, there's a lot of special effects. And everything gets digitized and adapted, and then what we're seeing now even in movie theaters is they don't come on film anymore, it comes on a hard drive. So you as a movie theater, you can get a pallet full of film that weighs 1,000 pounds, or you get one hard drive. And so a lot of, you might notice in the theaters now, they'll have a digital cinema. because it's a hard drive playing the movie now. It's not actual film anymore. The purists still like actual film. But we're actually seeing a sort of a backlash now, going back to pure film. There was, for the last few years, there was a big push toward digital only, because you can do so much in editing. And even with traditional film, you're going to edit it in a computer and then write it back to film. I saw a program once on IMAX film, and they were taking an IMAX film and digitizing it frame by frame. And it was shoot a frame, shoot a frame, shoot a frame, shoot a frame, and it was weeks of 24 frames per second, a 2-hour movie, shoot a frame, shoot a frame, shoot a frame, and then they had it digital and could do the edits. So before we had digital shooting in digital cameras, it's interesting. Now we shoot award-winning movies on our iPhone. Yeah, going back to vinyl. Vinyl sort of making a comeback now. And half the joke is that we've raised a generation of people that listen to crappy MP3s that are compressed out the wazoo. So you're losing the highs, you're losing the lows, you're listening to them on tinny little headphones, and you don't have an appreciation for music. In fact, several celebrities, who was it Bob Dylan? No. Neil Young. Yeah, Neil Young created a company selling a super high quality music player that it has its niche, but it's not that popular. Never really took off. And in fact, most people don't know, in iTunes, if you're ripping your own CDs, where is it? Where'd it go? Video playback, download, store. Oh, I don't have a CD player connected, so it doesn't give me the option. You can increase the quality of your, there it is, import settings. You can increase the quality. So a lot of people know the term MP3, because that was really the first compression format that made music small enough to fit on the storage drives of the time. And so the first Nomad jukebox had a 64 megabyte card, and you could put like 15 songs on it. Typical CDs, uncompressed, are about 10 megs a minute. So your CD holds about 70 minutes of audio. It was at 74 minutes. When the Sony engineers were building the CD, it was one of Beethoven's symphonies. They stopped engineering when the symphony would fit. So there's a 74-minute symphony, and they stopped engineering it when it fit on one CD. So 74 minutes, about 750 megs on a CD, so 10 megs a minute. The MP3 compression got that down to 1 meg a minute. So it's a 90% compression. It throws away 90% of the music it doesn't think you'll miss. And for a lot of people, it would revolutionize. And the first iPod had a 5 gigabyte hard drive in it and can store 1,000 songs in your pocket. So you didn't need that rack of CDs, especially in the car. How many people had multi-disc CD changers in their car so they didn't have to listen to the same 2 or 3 songs over and over again? So years ago, Apple switched from MP3 to the AAC encoder, which is the advanced audio codec developed by Moondog Labs, one of the premier leaders in audio sound. And they went to an iTunes Plus, so it's a higher quality. It's a higher quality than MP3, but still about a meg a minute. And that's the format that iTunes has been using for years, and a lot of people don't realize they're using it. But you also have the options to go to what's called Apple Lossless. And that's about a 50% compression, and it doesn't lose any data, but now you're about 5 megs a minute. So you need a much bigger storage drive. And a lot of the audio purists will do Apple Lossless because there's no loss of information, and they just get a bigger hard drive to store that higher quality data. And then if you're the ultimate purist, the AIFF, audio interchange file format, that's the native format of a CD, and we're back to the 10 megs a minute. So 700 megs on your disk for every CD you rip, which in the early days, people had thousands of CDs they were ripping in, and that just took up too much hard drive. So you can make your CD ripping higher quality if you don't mind sacrificing the disk space. And now we're listening to streaming music that's generally very low quality. One of the music services, I think it was Tidal. Tidal has an option for higher quality streaming, but then you pay extra for it because of that. And then Neil Young's, basically his portable media player, like the iPod, does higher quality streaming too, but again, that didn't really catch on. George? Yeah, so George is saying about, concerts today really sort of rely on volume. So it's not the quality of the music, it's the volume of the music. And so the volume has to be so loud in the front so that people in the back can hear it, and then the people right in the front row. And so how many especially rockers, have said that they've went deaf 20 years ago because even themselves trying to play the music and with their monitors, they just play it too loud and have hearing issues. The Pono player, thank you, George. Pono, which is kind of a, whoops, that wasn't what I wanted. Kind of a stupid name. Pono plates. The Pono player, there we are. Pono player was a portable music player. When Wikipedia says was, you know you're in a problem. So I wonder if they're still, Amazon is still selling them. Well, probably. Used ones, yeah. Currently unavailable. But even with the music you rip, you can rip it at a higher quality. And the iTunes Plus quality that Apple uses is pretty decent, 256K at 44 kilohertz. And for I think they still do. If you had purchased music at a lower quality, you can get a free upgrade to the higher quality through iTunes when they came out with iTunes Plus. I had a couple on my home computer. I had a couple of songs that were crap. So you may notice I had I've got my Soundbites audio files that I process, and since that's only spoken audio, I compress it to 64K. So our 2-hour show, hour and a half show is only 40 megs. So 90 minutes is 40 megs. That's half a meg a minute. So it's really small. And then I accidentally ripped a CD at 44K, and it was terrible. So I had to re-rip it. In fact, there are a lot of people that still buy physical discs because they want to have that option to rip it at whatever the next better quality is. And so you have a huge pile of discs in some storeroom somewhere that you're keeping just in case the next technology comes out to give you better quality. All right. Yep. Yes, so the Wi-Fi we're using here, we're tapped into the school's Ethernet, creating a Wi-Fi network, and then people are tying into that Wi-Fi network from the club's router.
Where does it turn from the RCSD service into CIDER?
The CIDER net is created by our router.
Created by the airport.
Yes, by the airport router. Yep.
This CIDER 5 gigahertz is created by the airport.
Yes, so the airport can use 2.4 gigahertz, which goes through walls better, or 5 gigahertz, which is less crowded. And I'm just thinking, well, this is mostly plastic. Maybe we should put the router on the other side.
So my question is, can the both of those at once, or is it
This model of airport can do both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz at the same time. And it was weird that when I switched Sean to the 5 gigahertz, it seemed to work better. And I'm on Ethernet here. Yeah. So one of the things that I just thought of is maybe next month we'll put the router on the other side of the screen. Or it could be just that router is just getting old and needs replaced. Right, 2.4 goes through things better. But we're so close, the 5 gigahertz is probably just as fine because it doesn't have to go through much. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you can check either the CIDER NAT or the CIDER 5 gigahertz. The other thing too is you can join the RCSD guest network separately. Yeah, you got to fill out a form and they send you a temporary password, and because and that's part of the issue that we're seeing since we moved into the staff cafeteria. I think something changed in the school district as well. Or not the district, but the building, because in the forum room we never had these problems.
Well, I happened to take a peek in the forum room, which has been finished now. It's quite an interesting place. I don't know if you've seen it or anything else.
No.
It's totally different. It's now an auditorium with a whole bunch of seats going down. It's got big monster screens all over the wall and stuff like that. But it might be.
We might want to look about moving back. We kind of like this room because it was smaller. Yeah. The other thing we could do is I can just plug onto Ethernet, and you can do whatever the hell you want. you use your phones to get on the network. Yeah, a lot of people have their own hotspot or their phone can get on the internet. It's just convenient to have Wi-Fi. But you may have noticed some of the stuttering that, especially the videos we're doing, was probably because he was on Wi-Fi, sending a video to my computer, which was sending it to the internet. Although when I look at the internet feed here, I'm not getting any dropped frames. I'm trying to find where's that back window back there. I'm not getting any drop frames, and I'm getting a high quality. I got too many windows open. There it is. No, I didn't want to do that because I don't want to see that. So yeah, we're getting no dropped frames. CPU is only at 7% of the CPU is being used for the stream, but it does seem to be a little tricky sometimes. Yeah. So the question is about upgrading to 64-bit apps. The operating system is already 64 and 32-bit aware. It will do both. So Mojave, High Sierra, I forget when we went to 32-bit apps, a long time ago. Actually, what was that? We went from 24-bit to 32-bit, and we had to load a program. That was like System 8, System 9, the 32-bit enabler, when the Mac OS went to 32-bit. And because they were doing some tricks in the early days, it was 24-bit, and in a 32-bit byte, because that was an even number, they were using those extra 8 bits for instructions to make programs run faster, because we only had 4 megs of memory at the time. When did they go? Yeah, I'm not going to find it. So you can run 32-bit software on your Mac now. You can run 64-bit software. So there should be no problem in upgrading to the latest 64-bit versions of your programs before, as you wait for Catalina to come out. All right, one last thing I want to get into. There has been let me go into this, a surge in fake Apple tech support. That's not the one I wanted to see. You get a phone call that has Apple's phone number on it. The call ID says Apple support. It will have the right phone number on it. It's very easy to spoof caller ID. The fake tech support people are getting much bigger. Here's one that Apple is posting. And we had a customer this week got scammed out of $20,000. They kept her on the phone for hours while she went to Home Depot and bought gift cards, and then went to Walmart and bought more gift cards, and then went to Target and bought more gift cards. And they just had her so panicked about the security problems on her computer. We need you to send us these gift card number. So then you scrape the back of the gift card off, read them the number, and the money's gone. So it's virtually impossible to get money back from a gift card. The retailers won't return gift cards because it's so easy for bad guys to buy a gift card, take the money, and then here's the physical card. Just give me money. They won't give you your money back. And they know all the scare words. They sound really good. They were warning her, don't use the internet. Don't use your bank. Because someone's trying to break into your computer. I guess they're technically true. He is on the phone right now trying to break into your computer. And they are really preying on especially older people who aren't as technically savvy. You're used to trusting people on the phone, especially when the call ID said Apple support. I was at a customer's house today cleaning her computer out, and they called again. They call 8, 10, 12 times in a row. They call every single day. And so I called up, and he said this is in an Indian accent. This is Charlie from Apple support, and hey, this is Steve from Apple support. I've got this now. We don't need you anymore. So no company will ever call you about a problem. They can't even email you about problems because fake emails are so prevalent. I want to say you can trust postal mail, but even that, it's a little iffy. There are federal guidelines for postal mail, and it's a little easier to trace postal mail. At least they can find out where it was mailed from. With fake telephone calls, they're already faking the call ID. They're probably not in the country, so you have to deal with a foreign government to try to track down where they're coming from. And it's very very difficult to keep telling people that all these calls are fake, especially if you know someone, like me or CIDER, or working with a company of people you trust. You can call them and they'll say it's a scam, but these scammers are really insistent and really pressing on how urgent this is, that you must fix this problem, without anyone stopping to think, why would Apple support want you to send them an eBay gift card as payment for services? Well, you have to send us that so you can get the security updates. The updates are free. In fact, sometimes the updates cause problems, but they're free. But they get you in such a panicked mood that you don't think. And let me actually see if I can play one of these videos. Yeah, don't use your iCloud account. You've been broke. Your iCloud. So you'll get an email saying there's a problem on your account. Click here to fix it, and it's not Apple. In fact, I collect a bunch of those fake emails. That a lot of times you can tell fake email. Where is my folder of fake email? There it is, fake email. You can tell fake email by how awkward some of the language is. So here's one that came from Amazon, that my Amazon.com account is pending verification. I got to click here to keep your account active. Well, if you point to that, it tells you where you're actually going. So this is going to a website called aceofbladesbarber.com. So some poor barber shop got hijacked, and the bad guys are using him. Now, sometimes only that one is fake. So that one is real, Amazon.com. That one is real, Amazon.com. And the reply says Amazon.com, but it's TonyWill48230 at Comcast.net. So there's always clues that tell you about a fake email, but you're panicked. Oh, my Amazon account's going to be disabled. My iCloud account's going to be disabled. Or someone's breaking into your eBay account. Click here. No, it's fake. The good guys can't. They might send you an email saying log into your PayPal account, but you go to the website, type paypal.com yourself. Because there's other attacks we've talked about. There's the homograph attack, paypa1.com. Looks like PayPal. Or they'll use an A from Greek that looks exactly like an English A. But to a computer, it's a different letter. So it looks exactly like PayPal, but it isn't because it's a different letter in a different language. And so the good guys can't send out these notices because they keep getting taken over by the bad guys. And these tech support calls get so, I don't know if it's going to play or not, they get so insistent and so scary and make you panic that you forget and you give them all your money without realizing it. So be very wary about any tech support call you get. They're going to be fake. And if you own a business, imagine how much it would cost you to hire enough people to call all your customers 2 or 3 times a day to make sure they're okay. You couldn't afford that. Apple's got literally 1 billion customers or more. They'd have to hire 1 billion people to call 1 billion people. So pretty much any tech support call you get is going to be fake. Pretty much any email you get about a problem is going to be fake. You're going to get ads popping up on websites that you have a virus or you have to update your flash. They're all fake because the good guys can't put out notices anymore because there's too many fake ones. But we're educated. We won't fall for stuff like that, right? And you'll have a backup just in case something else goes wrong. Yeah, if you get a notice, it's almost always fake because the good guys can't send out notices like that because... Right. If you're worried about a message you got from Citibank or a message you got from Apple, you call them. But don't Google the phone number, or especially don't Bing the phone number, because the bad guys will pay for... let me try Apple help phone number. Here we go, the first one on the list, 24/7 customer care, get help now. That's not Apple. That's an ad that somebody bought. Google tries to do a good job on finding the real company you probably meant, and so this is the real phone number, 1-800-MY-APPLE. And some of the other websites are a lot worse. Yep, so Bing is starting to find Apple first now. Bing used to be a really bad one about finding, so paid ads were coming first. And so we've had a lot of people will call the phone number they Googled. Yahoo's now doing it first now too. They call a phone number they searched and it's not the real phone number, and then they let the bad guys into their computer to rummage around, look for... How many people have a file called passwords that have all your passwords? How many people keep that on their desktop so they can find it? That's what the bad guys are looking for. Alrighty, we're about out of time. Thank you all for coming. I do want to remind you that our Saturday Green Apple SIG has been canceled. Bob has a engagement he has to go to. We will be doing the Q&A at 3 o'clock at our house in Fairport. And we'll be racing home from Soundbites, so if no one's home yet, please just wait. And also Soundbites, if you have questions that must be answered. Saturdays from 12 to 2. We do sound bites, call in, question and answer. And we're live on the air, live on YouTube, so you have a place to call and get questions between meetings. All right, next meeting next month is genealogy, and we hope to see you all then. Thank you all for coming.